This is Jeffrey Blake for Grinderschool.com. I'm actually doing a video today for FlopTurnRiver.com, playing two $16 turbo sit-and-goes on PokerStars. So we just got started. This is the second hand of the one on the right, and first hand of the one on the left. So you didn't miss anything, so don't you worry. I go ahead and fold the queen jack to the big under the gun raise. So what I'm wanting to do in this video, I actually have kind of an underhanded intention, I suppose, and that's to expose you to Grinderschool.com. You'll be seeing a lot of the same types of videos that I'm making now, with possibly more pointed discussion on Grinderschool. I'll be doing some sit-and-go videos. AA Poker, I don't know if you're familiar with him or not. He'll be doing some tournament videos. We have Trainer Gyms and Big Spinda, or Spinda and Gyms as they are on Grinderschool. They're doing some low-stakes cash game videos. And each of us, obviously we're taking different approaches, different formats. But we're going to be going through and really trying to break down the game. I'm going to do a series of videos on sit-and-goes, and I'll talk a little bit later about what those are, how they break down. Anyway, so that's one respect. I want to expose you to that. I also want to post a good sit-and-go video. I'll be playing a very tight aggressive style, meaning, of course, that I'm very selective with the hands that I play. I only play pre-flop hands, especially early on, if I think that they're strong enough to be almost definitely the favorite. And then post-flop, and pre-flop as well, if I'm playing the hand, I'm going to play it aggressively. I'm not going to be limping. I won't be just calling very often. I'll be raising. Here, I'm actually going to raise, even though it's a fairly weak hand, just because of some things that I've seen from Two-Timer in the past. He's a tight player himself, so I don't expect him to get involved with mediocre hands as much, which meant I didn't have to play against as many people. Make a standard continuation bet. I'd hit my ace, so I don't know if you can even consider it a continuation bet, and I take the pot down. That particular play is actually not something you should typically do. Again, I was just doing it because I was in late position and I had a read on one of the players in the blinds. So, typically any kind of ace-rag hand is something that you want to avoid. I approached it as if I was playing from the button with one guy less likely to play because he didn't have any money in. And it looks like the table on the right is at least fairly active. And that's what we kind of like to see. That really caters to the tight aggressive style. If you're at a table where people are playing very tight themselves, then it becomes harder to play because you end up having some difficulty stemming from the fact that everybody is playing few hands. You don't get rid of people near as fast, so you're almost forced to gamble at some point. Much more so than if you have a few people who are playing loose that get rid of their chips. Here I'm just going to limp. I know I said I wouldn't do that very often, but with low pocket pairs, particularly on the first couple of blind levels, I will. If it were 25-50 or above, I would definitely either raise or fold there. But this exact situation, I think, bears a limp. And that's really a pretty horrible flop for us, so we're going to welcome the chance to fold. I'm kind of deviating from everything that I intend to do on the table on the right. We'll get back into it here because we are going to fold this ace-8 suited. So we're waiting. Undergun raise and the call. Also be folding Queen 7. Now it's interesting that Jumbo GMC made a minimum raise. That in and of itself doesn't necessarily tell us anything. However, I cannot remember ever seeing a good player make a minimum raise pre-flop on the second blind level. So I'm going to, at least in my mind, figure that he is a bad player. He's also been involved in more pots than pretty much anyone at the table, I think. So that is worth noting as well. Okay. Neither one of these hands is worth playing. So we'll just go ahead and fold. So some of the things I'm going to be talking about on Grinderschool, I mentioned I'm doing a series of videos. I've got at least 5 sit and goes planned in this series. The first one is actually already done and already up on our site. What the series is about. The first one is going to focus on kind of early play and the differences between playing tight early, playing loose late. Some of the same stuff that I've talked about here, but I get a little bit more in depth on it, and I get into a decent discussion about odds in tournaments that I think is pretty relevant. Basically, I say that it's bad to play just because you have odds in a tournament, and it's also generally a pretty bad idea to draw. That's an abbreviated version. For more details, go check out the video. The second video that I'm going to be doing, I focus a lot more on late game play. I'll get into a discussion on Harrington on Dan Harrington, author of Harrington on Hold'em. He presents a concept of M. I'll cover that in detail and go through push-fold mode and talk about stealing the pot, situations to look for when you need to steal, and some other late game concepts. The third sit and go that I'm going to do in this series, it's going to be played. The focus is going to be not on how to play, at least not on how to play your cards, I guess. It's going to be on how to play regardless of your cards. I'm going to really focus on how to get reads on players and how to use them, and on situations that you don't really have to have cards necessarily, and maybe you don't even have to have reads necessarily. And in fact, to accomplish all of that, it'll be a single table video, and I'll be playing it with a sticky over my cards, a sticky note. So I'll be entirely blind throughout the sit and go. I will release 2 versions on Grinderschool. Here we don't have anything, so we're just checking. Obviously, we're going to fold a Queen 4 offsuit under the gun. We're not going to call a big bet there. I'm going to release 2 versions of the blind video, where the idea being you can see it with my cards, or you can see it with the cards blocked out and just focus in on what I'm talking about throughout the video without being able to see the cards. They'll be pretty inconsequential to my play, so I don't know which version of the video will be better, but I plan to do both. That's 8-5. We wouldn't have played even if it had been folded to us, or if everyone on the table had limped, we'd still fold. That goes back to what I was saying before about how in sit and goes, and in tournaments in general, but especially in sit and goes, just calling because you have odds isn't as good a play. You might argue that when you see we would have flopped the nuts, but, que sera, sera. The blinds are up to 25.50. And here we've got a raise and a re-raise. We're definitely not going to play the Jack-6. Oh, raise and a push all in. I didn't even notice that. And and the ace is held up, and we lose one player at this table. We're definitely going to be raising our ace-6 suited from the button. If we were in earlier position, we wouldn't have. And here again, we hit our ace. I'm going to fold the ace-9, and I'm going to